Sable is an experience that is as deep or as shallow as you want it to be. It can be a game that you log into once just to take in the spectacular Mobius-influenced art style, or it can be a game that you sink hours into. Sable didn't win me over initially, but in spite of some pretty glaring performance issues on launch, it eventually did. Before we get into that, I'd like to remind you all that you can find me live streaming here on YouTube every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Now let's talk about Shedworks' single-player open-world adventure, Sable. Sable is a game that was in development for quite a while. Shedworks was started quite literally in a shed by Daniel Feinberg and Grigorios Kythriotis in 2014, and Sable was first revealed at E3 2018 with plans to launch the following year. Needless to say that they missed that window. But I give them a ton of credit for powering through and actually launching their game instead of getting stuck in development hell like so many indie games do. In Sable, you play as Sable, who is just about to leave the roost to find out what her purpose is. It's your job to find that purpose. Instead of a main storyline, the game has a bunch of individual quests that you will pick up from talking to people that populate this beautiful world. Now I'm going to stop right there because I honestly hated this at first. Maybe it's the New Yorker in me, but initially I was like, what the hell? No main story? I've just got to go create my own adventure?
See, now that's some bullshit.
When I was doing my research for the E3 video, go watch that here, I remember the developers saying that Sable was a game that was very much go and do whatever you want. And admittedly, that gave me pause. These sprawling open world adventures usually don't do anything for me just because they're such a rarity these days, and I don't really have that much experience with them. The only other game like this that I can remember giving a shot was No Man's Sky. And although, to their credit, they have 100% turned that game around, the launch kind of soured me on the style of game. That's probably not the best example, but it's kind of similar in the sense of go make your own adventure. And before all you Outer Wilds enthusiasts come in here and tell me to come play that game, it's on the list. It's gonna happen, I promise. I feel like there is some middle ground between a mapgasm of objectives and side quests like in Ubisoft games, and something like this that says, hey, here's a bike, a cool soundtrack, and an awesome art style. Go have fun. Or don't, because this is the way Sable is. The camp you start the game in is not really filled with people, but holds host to individuals that reminisce about their gliding, which is what the game calls the process of journeying into adulthood. Some love the exploration, some wish they'd explored longer, and some always knew what they wanted to be. When I started playing Sable, I played for about 2 hours and I took a break because I was just not getting it. Then I started to think about those individuals in the camp talking about their gliding, and the purpose of the game smacked me right in my big dumb short attention span face. As I started to put more time into the game, the gliding started to hit home for me more and more. This may be a little on the nose, but this game just kept reminding me of my youth and not knowing what I wanted to be, or even who I wanted to be. And how the hell are you supposed to know all of that when you're that young anyway? Some people need that structure of a 9 to 5, and some people live on a shoestring budget so they can travel the world. Both lifestyles are acceptable in the real world, but only one path is offered here in Sable. That path is wide ass open. After I hopped over that mental obstacle, I could go enjoy the game for what it is, and there's definitely a lot to enjoy. As I was cruising around the world, I couldn't help but feel like I was experiencing a collection of memories as I played. Riding around Sable's world, which is quite barren at times, reminded me a lot of some of my first few hours playing Destiny. Mainly just that initial period of wonder and exploring the worlds of Destiny on my Sparrow for the first time, because unlike how Destiny was then, if you ride around long enough in Sable, you'll find stuff to do. Some of these quests take you on a wild goose chase, and some are quite short, but they all do an excellent job of showing the heart of the people that you share this world with. Sable has a lot of charm to find if you want to put the time in to go digging for it. I know I've kind of taken you all on a bit of a roller coaster how I feel about Sable so far, so before I close strongly with a heartfelt sales pitch on why you should play it, I'm going to talk about bugs. This game, at least on launch, is one of the worst performing games that I've played in a long time. In spite of trying to cap my frames at 60, going uncapped, and trying both VSync settings, I had stuttering and screen tearing throughout my entire playthrough. I didn't try setting it at 30 FPS because, well, come on now. I've had button prompts just not pop up and had to restart. I've had moments where the menu bugs out and I can't select anything. I've had some really weird audio issues where I'll have no audio and then all of it. And other times the audio is as if the game's got the world's worst connection to the world's worst Bluetooth speaker. As of right now, Sable is a flawed experience, which is unfortunate because it already has to sell you on being self-driven enough to experience what it has to offer. But I have a feeling that the people that love this game will be able to look past its shortcomings like I have in the past for games that I love. I'm willing to look past the dumb tower defense parts of Assassin's Creed Revelations because of how this moment and the soundtrack make me feel.
Another artifact. No. You will stay here. I have seen enough for one life.
It's a game that not everyone will get, but it's a game that I can't stop thinking about. Part of that is the amazing world that Shedworks has built for us, and part of this is the incredible soundtrack that Japanese Breakfast has given us. I still can't get over how awesome that band name is.
Come in to me, show us the way. I'm caught between the wind and pots.
I am going to keep hammering this point home in every game that I cover because the music that accompanies a game is important. Remember what I said about Revelations? It is scientifically proven that music and memories go hand in hand. So why wouldn't you want to put the effort into crafting the best music you possibly could for those moments? The work by Japanese Breakfast here is pretty special. Each location has its own sounds and themes that accompany you along the way, and much like the rest of the game, it feels hands-off in a way. Save for one special moment in the game, the music is just there, hanging out in the background, which for this game in particular works really well. You don't really need this when you're cruising around. Well, I guess you could, but it's not really the tone they were going for here. Much like the soundtrack in Death's Door, the work by Japanese Breakfast here does the job of selling you even more on this experience incredibly well. It wouldn't be the same game without it. Sable is a game that is incredibly reliant on the world that they've built, triggering the player's curiosity. Its hope is that as you're riding around that you see something off in the distance, and you're like, oh, well that looks neat, I'll go there. Remember that collection of memories I mentioned earlier? Another scene I couldn't stop thinking about as I explored the world of Sable was this one from The Force Awakens. I felt that vibe of being a scrapper, and exploring shipwreckage from an age I wasn't around for. And most importantly, the innocence and curiosity that we see from Rey here. Like I said earlier, Sable won't be for everyone. This is a game that you could spend a couple of hours in, or 20 hours in if you wanted to explore everything. I certainly didn't think it was for me. But if you can set your schedules and plans and preconceived ideas of what this game is aside and just soak it in, you'll go on a gliding of your own. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want some live content, you can find me streaming here on YouTube every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and you can find videos like this here every Wednesday. Be on the lookout for some shorts too, because as I get more consistent with videos here, I want to put out as much quality stuff for you guys as I can. If you enjoyed this video, positive rating would be very much appreciated, and until next time, much love everyone, and stay safe out there. Peace out everybody.